I've just started the recording now, so anything from here on outwards will be recorded and you'll be sent a link to that at the end. Just to start off, I want to show you this help bar at the top on our toolbar. If you use the help ping here, it will take you to an online manual for BigPicture. If you ever get stuck, you can always just go through here and look, and you can also use to explore different features that you may not remember so much about. And we also have the manual here, which comes through your free download, so you can also go through that if you don't have access to the internet. And here we have a whole list of example spreadsheets. These are maps that have been built and they come with your download, and you can use these to understand the different product features, and they're also separated into specific business areas to help you get to grips with the software. These all come with the software, so it's really easy for you to go through and play with them and just really understand each feature and what it's useful for. We're going to start off here by going through a business planning example here. These are all been created from a Harvard Business Review case study, which means someone had used BigPicture to summarize what they read in an article. So there's two things you can take from that, which is, one, it's a great tool to help maintain information and to display it, and two, the person behind making decisions and how useful BigPicture is to mapping out thoughts and different processes. And hopefully you'll see that in a second. So you just click on the link here and it will open up an example. All of our examples have a brief summary at the front here. This one's about, it's called Village Car Acquisition, where a large rental car company called Beacon has taken over a smaller car sharing company called Village Car. Beacon is similar to like an Avis or a Hertz, and Village Car is like a smaller zip car company or like a local car sharing service. Two companies have different business models, different cultures, different strengths and weaknesses, and if you're Beacon, you have plenty of things to think about. What you do about the name and image, how will customers react, and more importantly, will it improve profitability? Okay, this is a sort of map where one person has drawn it out by hand. It's not automatically generated, and you can see there's clearly lots of shapes and colours, which I'll go on to how to do that later on. But for the moment, we'll just stick with the information part. So here, there's the three options: full integration, hybrid integration, and to keep Village Cars separately. So you can expand this out using the green expansion button. You can collapse it using the red one here. And under each of these options, there's different attributes, how it will impact the customer, and the goals it will achieve. You can also just expand it out fully. At this point, I'd like to point out some of these connectors have labels. These have the plus signs that indicate it's positive, and it's a negative sign here to indicate it's a bad option. This is just one way mapping things out in BigPicture can help you convey a message without explicitly saying it's bad or it's good. And we have this each for hybrid and independent options as well. I'd like to point out the single expand button up here is on. And that's how when I expand Village Car here, it collapses the hybrid. This just helps to keep things nice and neat and orderly, so you can really keep control of the discussion and what you're looking at. If you want to, you can turn it off here and you can expand them all out. But as you can see, it gets a bit crowded. It's quite hard to read. Okay, so once you've read through the whole map and you've gone through all the different attributes and all the positives and all the negatives, you can come up with your own recommendation here, which is what we have, a smaller map here. So if you expand it out, there's just a few key points. For example, sharing is real. There's a clear trend away from ownership and consumption. And if you expand these out, the recommended option is to be a hybrid company, where Village Car takes on some of Beacon's features, but this also keeps some of its own independence. So that's just a brief introduction to how you can take a vast amount of information in a whole article, condense it down into a map, and you can fully go over your options. You can send this to people before a meeting, for example, and then they can each go through it on their own, and then you can clearly see which areas you want to discuss and which things people may have issues with. So that's just one example. So now I'm going to show you how you can create a map like that for yourself. Let's start with the basics, just creating a single topic here, this button up at the top, and this blue rectangle, this is what is our default setting for a topic. So we can look at another strategic planning example, which is where to locate a new plant for, say, a manufacturing company. And then we can just draw out from here, from the connection points, and it will automatically create a new topic. Excuse me. At this point, I'd like to point out auto arrange is on, which is why if I draw out multiple topics, it spaces them out nice and evenly. You can turn that off and just rearrange it as you please, but for now I'm going to leave it on because it makes things a bit easier. And then you can just type once you've selected a topic, and it will start filling the topic with the information you're typing in. So one of the things we might want to look at is labour costs, and then we've got things like tax incentives, and you may think this is going to take quite a while to map out. So if we just delete these, I'll show you that we can just create a list here in an Excel cell, and then we can use BigPicture to create topics based on what we've entered into these cells. So we've got ease of access here. Oops. As in how easy is it to get to there. We've got safety, future growth, competition, and the local labour market. So to add these into different topics, you right click on the root topic and it will bring out this big picture menu. You select add children, and then you highlight the ones you want to add in, see OK, and there. Very quickly it just adds them all in, auto arranges on so they're nice and evenly spaced out. So that can save you a bit of time, and you can, if you're just writing down notes in a meeting, you can use those notes to generate a map fairly quickly, and then you can customize it later on and move things around. So you can save a bit of time and a bit of labour just adding things like this. I'm going to show you this edit part of the toolbar here. You can use the select tool to select obviously different layers of the maps. Here I'm just selecting all of them. BigPicture also has its undo, copy and paste buttons. These are different to the Excel ones here, so you got to get used to which things are Excel issues and which are BigPicture issues. You can change the fonts in any way you could for a normal Excel cell. Just increase and decrease font size, change the color. You can change the fill, which you can also do here in the format tool, because the topics are essentially just shapes created by Excel, and you can edit them in any way you could edit a normal shape. So you can change the shape like this or to anything like this. So and you can choose to make the text right in the center of the cell, or the topic, sorry, and expand it. Basically, you can customize each topic to appear whichever way you'd like it to. So here, this may not look great at the moment, but it's just to give you a bit of an example as to the options you have with BigPicture. They can fully customize everything. Okay, so you may think, because we got a couple of topics to do with labour, like labour cost and the local labour market here, you may think, well, you could put them under one subtopic called labour, and you can just select the connector between the root topic here and one of the labour topics. If you right click on that, you can choose new topic between, and you don't want it to connect to everywhere else, so you say no, and so there you are. Let's put in our default one. It's not an orange pentagon, so we can just call this one labour, and we want to move labour costs down to here. And to move a topic, if you click and you hold, it will change to this strange peach colour, and you can move it round, and you can see that as I move it, the red connector points are lighting up, and when I release it, whichever one is lit up, that's where the topic will be connected to. So that's quite a powerful tool to be able to just rearrange the map simply by clicking and holding, and then you can drag it around whichever way you see fit. Okay, as I like to show you now how you can put in pictures, where in our intro thing here, you can see there's just the glasses here, and you can do that by, you can go to format and choose shape fill and then picture. You can also do this through right clicking, but it just depends on whatever you find easier or whatever works for you best. In this version of Excel, which is 2010, it will take you to the pictures library, but in later versions you can also search Bing. So here I've got to choose one of the pictures I've got saved on my computer, but you can also search the net if you've got a later version. So I'm just going to choose this safety first picture. You can see it fills the topic there, and it's just a picture, but it's also got the writing in there, the label that just says safety. We can remove that using this topic pane up at the top. So if we select this topic and we look at the label, you can see it was from L5. We can either just delete the text there, or we can choose to have a simple label. It will give us this warning. You can say OK. It will move the text into the simple label for you to customize. I can just delete it and it takes it out of here. So that's one way you can add a picture to your map. You can also add a picture in the same way you can add in a light bulb and the data here. To do that, you just select whichever topic you want, and you can either choose to do it through this topic pane by ticking this button. It will put in a place marker here where it says you can right click and you change picture. Again, it takes you to your picture library. We might want a road. It doesn't look particularly good with our orange pentagon, but we can always change that as well. You can choose whether you want the picture on the right or the left, or which way you want it. You can also add a picture by right clicking and saying add picture from the BigPicture menu. So again, lots of options as to how to do everything. And we can also add what we call markers. These are just small pictures attached to the bottom of each topic. So here we might want to say future growth is a quarter of the way through this progress, and that might mean we want to flag it up red. But for competition, we can go through here as well. Let's say we can go, so you can just use these markers to put across a message without explicitly writing it out or stating it. You can just put a little picture in, and so that everyone can fully understand that. So that's quite a powerful way to convey messages without wasting a lot of time. Okay, get rid of this topic pane now. We can also add in what we call tags by selecting a topic here and choosing a tag. You might want to say the local labour market is of high importance, and it will change this. It will change the format because there's specific tag formats for this, and so you can see clearly this is high. But if we want to say this one, we can also right click, choose tags. The tax incentives are only medium. It just so happened that we're already orange for high. So there's a couple ways you can add in tags. You can also add in tags and markers through the outline pane. So you can see here there's medium and high things already. You can also just add in, so I want ease of access to be a medium. See, it updates here immediately. It's just another way you can sort of customize and just add in different formats to your map, different levels, so you can sort of keep track of what is very important to you and how you think, like the work direction you need to go. And one last thing we got with our update is you can actually create a whole map just through a text, which I'm just going to copy out of my notepad here. So you see we got our root topic here, then there's the next level. Under the labour there's two different topics here, and then there's the rest of them here. If you highlight all of these and you copy them and you go into your outline pane, if you go into your outline pane here and you want to say, you want to choose this down button here, so you can insert, and then we can copy this, and then you got to just essentially copy the outline you got here and choose the down button here, and then it will map out the template you've drawn out in Excel. You can also do it straight from the notepad. It's just easier to understand the format here in Excel. If you're wondering why it was having a bit of an issue there, it's because we got a map open in the sheet already and it can interfere as well. So that's something to bear in mind if you're trying to add in separate maps. If you want to have two different maps in the same sheet, you can always do that, or even though these maps are essentially the same, you can right click on a topic and say tools, and you can link the topic to a different map. So even if there's two maps and they're not connected by a connector, you can choose this. You can go to one of these, say the root topic here. You have to say where you want the link button to be, so I want it to be on the left. We can add the link. You can see there's a button here and there's like a new button here. If you click on it, it will just take you to that topic. So there's a powerful way you can use to move between multiple maps, and you can link all your maps and your thoughts together. As I said before, we got different connectors here. This map's getting a bit messy, so I'm going to edit the connectors of this map. To do that, you select the connectors and you can right click. You can choose different line styles for curved, so that will just change this one, or you can change them all using the connectors tab at the top. You can choose for them all to be curved, or whichever one you like. You can also add in labels by right clicking, say label. You can have custom label where it will essentially put in a text box, or we've got lots of these defaults. So you've got the plus and the negatives, you've got success, yes, no, pretty much anything that will pop up fairly regularly we've got a default for. Or you can have a custom one which is here, and it will add in a text box. So you can just have labour, it will type it in there. You can sort of rotate it if you want, if you don't like it being all wonky. So that's how you add a label. You can also edit the format by sorry, it's saying format shape. You can, if I move this out of the way, you can see as I change the width here, you see the connector getting wider. You can also thin it down the other way. You can choose to have a dashed line, change the color to whatever you'd like. So again, you've got lots of options. This is essentially just changing Excel's shape again. So anything you can do in Excel, you can do to a big picture topic. So that's just some ways you can sort of create a map, and you can edit as well. That's just sort of to give you a brief preview as to how someone made the strategical planning map that we saw before. Alright, so now we're going to move on. We're going to look at some auto-generating maps. The first one we're going to look at is a data map. And it's one of the example spreadsheets that has come with your download as well. So here we got our data, and this is all about the power generators in the Midwest. So we got it separated out into the separate states. And then we got the name of each plant, the source of the energy, so we got coal or nuclear gas, or there's others as well. And then there's the company who owns that plant, the capacity the plant gives out, and then here we got a hyperlink to either a website or a PDF file to just sort of give you a bit more background about each plant. As you can see, it's a fairly small data set, but it's enough to give you an idea of what's going on. So we go to the top here, to our auto generate section. You can either choose to click down here, you got the options here, or you can just choose data map. Now here it will pop up with this dialog box. With the examples, these are all filled in for you already, but if you create your own from your own set of data, then you'll have to fill these in yourselves. So I'm just going to briefly explain what each of these areas is for. We've got the range to import, which you can see is highlighted as well. Then we've got columns for group topics. Here we've got states and the primary source. These are essentially how the map's going to be broken down. So we'll have a root topic, then we're going to have a list of the states, then under each of the states it will be broken down into either coal, nuclear or gas. Here, Big Picture gives you the options of to which columns you want to use. This is just a drop down arrow. There's only, you might notice there's only 3 columns available. That's because Big Picture sorts out which columns has repeating data. So here there's obviously plenty of rows of the Minnesota state, and there's also plenty of different coals, and there's some operating companies that have been repeated, so that's an option as well, but we're not going to use that. After the different sort of energy, there'll be an end topic which will be displayed in a table. There's an option for individual topics, but a table makes it neater, and most of the time that'll be what you'd like. So we're going to have the plant name here, we're also going to have the operating company and the capacity here. You might see we've got a ticked box here for the roll up, and that means under each state and then under each energy type it will have the capacity for the total for the state and then the total for each energy source within the state. That may not make too much sense at the moment, but hopefully once it's mapped out that will make sense. And if you don't want to use the total, you can use all of these different calculation options. So whichever one suits your data best, or you might not want to roll up. Big Picture will give you the option to roll up any numerical data, which you can obviously choose to use or not use. We've got pictures for this map, which you can just add by ticking this box. There's pictures for each state, each energy source, and in the end topics there'll be a picture for the operating company as well. These pictures are based on this folder here, so each of these pictures has to be saved to your computer, and then it will map the picture from the state name, so it has to match exactly as well. If it's got the wrong capital letters or there's a space or whatever, then it won't be able to match them up properly. And then it will just map out from these files and it will add in a picture to each topic. These pictures come with the download. For your own, you'll have to either get them off the internet or you'll just have to have your own pictures available and make them link up properly as well. So you've got to get the labels of the tickets right, pictures right. We're going to have one marker in the end topic, and this hyperlink column is going to be just displayed as one small hyperlink picture. That's just because we don't really want this massive link in the way. We're not going to filter it, although just as a demonstration you can pre-filter data, so you can look at one single state if that's what you want, or one single energy source or whatever. But here we just want to see all the data. Here you can type in the name, this is what's going to appear in your root topic, and then there's obviously different colours and things you can play around with just to get it to appear exactly how you want. And you create the map, and it will add the map into a different sheet at the bottom here in the same workbook. So here we got our Midwest power generation. The total capacity is just under 57,000. If you go here and you added all of these up, that is the number that will be appearing here. And then we got it separated into each state with our picture, and each state has its own total capacity. As you can see here, that's what the roll-up tick box does in the dialog box. Then under each state we got each energy source. So here you can see in Illinois, nuclear is clearly the highest capacity. So that's quite useful to know. You can see how it's broken down within other states as well. So here in Indiana there's no nuclear at all, and it's pretty much all coal. And then here if you click this other expansion button, it brings up the end topic table. For those who are using the older version of BigPicture and haven't updated, these will look much different to the other topic tables, which used to be properly connected, but here we've gone in a different direction. And so if you switch between, it will get rid of the older ones. But here you can see each operating company has its own logo, and there's the plant name, there's the operating company, the capacity, and you've got a hyperlink here for either PDFs or a website. You can also choose to display multiple ones, so you might want to see how coal in Iowa compares to coal in Illinois, and it will just add them right there below. And then once you've got rid of or used them up, you can just get rid of it like that. You can also double click on column headings to put them all in order, so you've got lowest to highest capacity. That might be something that's useful to you as well. So that's just one way you can use data map to display your data. I'd also like to show you how easy it is to switch and change it around. So what if we wanted to, for example, look at the energy breakdown before we look at the states? We create a map, and I'd say no, we don't want to overwrite the old one. We can use it to compare. So here it's exactly the same map. All we changed was we've broken it down into the energy source, and then we've broken it down into the states. So each energy source has a list of the states, and this can be useful. So as you can see here, coal is clearly the highest energy source in the Midwest. Then there's nuclear, there's a small amount of gas, and there's a very small amount of others. But here It's pretty much the same table as by the end, it's Iowa cold rather than cold in Iowa. So you got options as to how you want to display each of your data. Alright, so if we get rid of these maps, alright, so if we create one map here with the energy source first, obviously these maps only work if you have BigPicture open. If you send this file to someone who doesn't have BigPicture on their computer, they won't be able to expand. These will just, the buttons will be here, but they just appear as pictures. So you can create a report. You can either save it as a PDF or you can keep it in the Excel book. This you can send to someone and it will work. What we have here is we've broken it down and then we've got the end tables here. This is dynamic, so if you click on each link it will take you to the end topic table. So this is just another way of displaying this map but within the Excel capabilities. So you can send this to someone and then they can see what you see. Look through and go through all the end topics. You can see we've got our total capacity rolling up still, and all the calculations and all the pictures and the links as well. Everything is here. The links here are just a more button, it's not a picture. So again, very powerful, very simple way to manipulate your data to get a whole different view, and you can send it to people who don't even have BigPicture and you can profit from that. Okay, I think that pretty much covers our data maps, so I'll get rid of that. And now we're going to quickly look at organization charts. And again, there's a description at the front, but here we've just got, very basic HR data, which is the name of an employee, their title, the title of their direct supervisor, phone number, the city they work in, the salary they earn, a ranking number, and then an annual review summary. If you look at the top, you can see in the auto generate section there's all charts here, and then there's a link map here as well, but these are separated by this thin line from data maps. That's because all charts and link maps are very similar. They're both based on a hierarchy system based on two columns. Here it's employees to supervisors, so in the dialog box you have to select which is the employee title and which is the supervisor title, and BigPicture will use that to map a hierarchy and it will build a map from that. Just an example, it will find a director of the sales in the West will be below the managing director in the West, and these supervisor titles will be in the employee titles here. So if we look down, there's a managing director in the West, which is Loretta Smith. So Amanda Nelson will be directly below Loretta Smith, who is directly below the CEO and president, which is Jeffrey Wiggins. He has no supervisor title, which means he will be at the top of the organization chart as he has no supervisor. There can be only one person with no supervisor, and it is Jeffrey Wiggins. And you've got to have the supervisor titles and the employee titles matching, similarly to the pictures, so BigPicture can recognize that they're the same, and they need to be built in and treated the same. So that's just a brief explanation as to how it works. If we open the org chart dialog box, here we got our range again, which is highlighted, and we've got to select our employee title to supervisor title. Here it just happens to be that's the name of the columns here, but we can choose any of these. It will only work with the employees to supervisors though, due to the relationships. Now each of these topics, or each employee will have one topic, and in each of these topics there's the employee name, their title, and the city that they work in. So that's what we're choosing to display here. We can obviously choose any of these as well, but we don't want to put in things such as salary, which is sensitive data, so we're going to add these as a calculation note. So here we got roll up as well, which I'll just show you when we create the map. Then there's going to be a salary note, which is going to be the total salary for everyone, and then there's going to be a head count, which will be the supervisors will have a head count of everyone who is directly below them. So Jeffrey Wiggins at the top will have just a head count of everyone in this spreadsheet, and if someone doesn't have anyone below them, they're not a manager, that just wouldn't be a head count for them. In the markers, we're going to have this rank displayed as just a number, and then this line of text is going to be displayed in a note as well. We have pictures for each employee, so again, saved to the computer is a picture for Amanda Nelson called Amanda Nelson, and that will help BigPicture to match it up with the correct topic. If it's got a name spelled wrong, then there's going to be someone who won't have a picture mapped out. Again, we can filter if we'd like, so we can filter on like a location, but for now we're just going to look at the whole map. All this data is going to be put in. So what BigPicture is doing now is it's finding the different hierarchy between the employees and the supervisors, and hopefully fairly quickly it will sort this out. Okay, so here we got Jeffrey Wiggins, and we got Loretta Smith, the managing director in the West, and we got Amanda Nelson, who is also in charge of this group of people. If we click on the Sigma note here, you can see it's got her salary, this is our calculations note, by the way. It's got her own personal salary, then there's 5 people below her, and they got their total salary between the 5 of them. So that's what those mean. Then this plain note is her review summary, and you can see she's got a 7 on her review. So that's what all those different boxes meant in the org chart, just as an example. Here we can also create a report for the org chart, which we can also save as a PDF, but I don't really want to. And it will take this whole map, the whole chart, and it will change it into an Excel spreadsheet, but it will keep the same format. So here we've got Jeffrey Wiggins at the top, the only one in this row, and we've got everyone here who's directly below him, and you can see it's got the hierarchy system here. Then we've got the employee titles, the cities, the rank, everyone who's below them, the head count, and the total salaries of those people. Then their own personal salary, their performance rank, and then we've got the annual review summary here. So again, if you sent this to someone who didn't have BigPicture, they wouldn't be able to expand out further than this. But you can send this to someone and then they can understand that perfectly. Just delete that. Or if you don't want to send them the report, you can also choose to expand so there's no topics collapsed, which will just give you the entire chart like this. You can zoom out, or you can print it off, and you can send this to someone. So they don't have to expand or collapse, they just get the entire organisation into the org chart, which might be a bit hard to read, but it means they can just view it rather than changing it. Now these notes won't be able to be expanded and read, but you can still see the general hierarchy system within each company. So that might be something useful you want to be doing. And with the most recent update, you can also use conditional formatting here on things like salary. So if we put it on like this, you can see there's the higher numbers are going to be green, the lower numbers are going to be red. You do have to rebuild the whole map to get the colours in like that. So again, this will be exactly the same map, but each topic will be coloured differently. And this can be quite useful because you can expand out the map and you can see where the higher earners are and the lower earners. You'd expect the green to be at the top and the red to be at the bottom. And this doesn't seem to be working at the moment, but let's just run it again. Alright, well that's not working at the moment, but you can try it out if you've got the latest version of BigPicture. Alright, so that's pretty much summing up all charts there. So you can get all of this information into one map. So I get rid of that. One last thing I want to show you is a slideshow, which is where you can take any map. This is a fairly small one, and you can break it down into smaller sections to help, so you can just display portions of the map that you want and in the order that you'd like to. This is especially useful if you're presenting your map to an audience and you want to explain it in steps, or you could send it to different members of a team or someone who's trying to train, and they can walk through it step by step on their own time before a meeting or as a sort of replacement for some sort of training. So it can save a bit of time going forward, and you can just discuss rates as you want. You don't have to explain the map to anyone. Here, as this is one of our examples that is in the slideshows, this has an example slideshow built in already, which is why you got a play button here. It's going to show you what it looks like now. So you got this, and you got a description here of how a mail order company must decide how many catalogs to mail to prospective customers. And then as you click next at the top, you can go through and it adds in a couple more topics with a new description there. You can just build the map slowly. You can walk through and really get to grips with all the information in this map. If you want to change this description, you can use these description template here, and you can format just this box. So if we just want to have a fairly simple just purple outline and white thing, now we have to stop the slideshow, and then next time we stop play it, there we go. That's how you change the template. To set up the slideshow, you click the slideshow button in Tools. Here, as there's already one built, you can see in the first slide there's only this topic, and it highlights the topics that will be shown. Then you can say these are the new ones that are being added. There's also options to choose to select all prior slides. So for this one, it will gradually build the map and it will eventually show the whole thing. But you can choose to just show a couple topics at a time, and then just show the whole map at the end. So each slide you can just select topics by ticking these things. Let's find something that isn't here. So you can just add in a couple more topics, and then you can play, and it will play through at the bottom. And see, you can see the ones that I've added in randomly by ticking those boxes. So you got the fixed cost of printing came in much earlier. So it's fairly easy just to add and remove different topics to each slide, like so. And you might be wondering where this description goes in. If you right click down here and choose unhide, here we've got tag formats and we've got the slide descriptions. If you unhide slide descriptions here, so there's just basically for each slide a text box will be created, and then you just type in whatever you want in here, and you can also format the box here or in the way that I did before by doing this. So that's how you can just add in descriptions just to walk it through for people. There's also some controls here where you can skip to whichever slide you want. Choose to full screen it so it doesn't look like Excel at all. And you can just choose to autoplay as well. It will gradually walk through on its own. So there's plenty of options you have when trying to play around with slideshows and describe the maps. Obviously this is a fairly small map, so the slideshow is only 7 slides long, but you can obviously do it with a much larger map. For example, the strategic planning map. You could work your way through that before a meeting or after a meeting to sum up what you said for it. And you can use it to train people in different processes, so you don't have to sit with them and explain to them very slowly. So it's a very powerful tool, very easy to use, and it can save you a lot of time going forward. Okay, I think that pretty much covers all the information I want to go through today. Thank you for joining me this morning, and my email address is here if you need to get in contact, if you have any questions about any of the features, or if you want to get in touch and talk about how to purchase a license or how to get a trial. Then if you've got any questions, just feel free to reach out to me. Okay, thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions at the moment, you can write them into the chat box on the right hand side. Okay, thank you.